In today's episode, we have some new information regarding the Final Fantasy VII Intergrade DLC and the First Soldier mobile game, as well as an update regarding Final Fantasy VII Remake Part II. If you like the video,
Woo!
comment, like, and subscribe. Now on with the video. So today, Square Enix they did like a live stream, and they showed off some gameplay regarding First Soldier. For anyone who's not familiar with the First Soldier mobile game, it's pretty much Square Enix's take on the whole battle royale
Battle
genre.
Royale genre.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
like Fortnite and PUBG. They released the information like 2 months ago or something like that, and
I think it
they
was January, wasn't it?
yeah, it was a couple of months back, and they didn't really release too much information on it, other than
Battle Royale game, and everyone made the joke, ha ha ha, Final Fortnite 7,
yeah.
including me.
Yeah, so let's go over like some of the stuff here in the article. It plays out just like a typical battle royale. 75 people get dropped into like a large map.
Mm-hmm.
And you start off with like standard equipment. So that's
Yeah.
that's pretty much standard, right? And
It's cool. Did you see the different character designs in it? Like seeing the female soldiers and stuff like that? I really like the designs. I just mean the character designs kind of in general looked pretty good. Because they didn't have like the standard NPC kind of models from like Crisis Core or anything like that. They seem to
mm.
be like, I don't know, a bit funkier designs. I really liked. I don't know. I really liked looking at the designs in this.
Wait, do you think the designs are somewhat based on Crisis Core's
Oh, I so I don't know if you can get the footage. There's a part in the live stream where they're in Aerith's church
mhm.
and it looks exactly like the model from Crisis Core on the inside. I feel like same with the Guard Scorpion. I feel like they must have used a lot of assets from Crisis Core if they still have them because it's the exact same graphic style and also a lot of the assets look pretty much the exact same. Like it does look like a PSP game
Mm.
because it's not releasing on consoles; it's only mobile. So I feel like they must have. I'm hoping that they have the Crisis Core assets because to me, them having the Crisis Core assets means better chance for a re-release of Crisis Core.
Yeah,
Because I
on
know
on
we're
mobile.
getting the story in Ever Crisis, but that's not a remaster of Crisis Core. That's just a different game with the same story. And there's materia all over the map, so you can get like the fire materia and stuff like that, and you can upgrade your materia in this,
Mhm.
which is pretty cool. That you can see them do. They did this in the original trailer, and I think we talked about it there. You can see them use like arrow, and then they use that to like jump higher and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it looks like
Yeah,
you can use spells not just for like direct damage. There's like
yeah,
utility to
and
it.
they have cure as well, obviously to heal yourself. One thing, because you were saying they jump down out of the helicopter like a typical battle royale.
Yeah.
They showed it in this. You come out of the Shinra helicopters, which I love. So they you can level up and stuff like that. I thought that was so interesting. They have
Well,
like so they have because people heard me talking about Guard Scorpion. The Guard Scorpion is a boss. They have like regular enemies on the map, like like Final Fantasy enemies, like the firebomb guys,
yeah,
stuff like that.
the
They have all
bombs.
those on
Yeah.
the map. So rather than just having the regular players, those are on the map, and you can kill them and level up. And leveling up like improves, I guess, like your aim, and it improves your health and stuff like that, and your MP. Which cool, like to me, that's such a cool mechanic because I think it adds more strategy to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that's where the whole RPG elements come
Yeah,
from. Like,
yeah.
cause
Because like you could start a map, like me, you, and Talos could be starting a map, and I don't know. I guess we could be on different teams, or I think it's team based. I'm not actually sure.
hmm,
I know Fortnite has like teams and stuff like that sometimes. Um, but like you could, you could go off and you could try and kill every player as quick as possible, whereas I could be the person hiding and going and trying and finding the enemies and leveling up, so that when I face you, then I've got way more health than you and I'm doing way more damage. So it's like the two different styles of play. You can jump straight in and just hunt players, or you can be smart about it and you can be like, okay, I'm gonna bide my time and I'm gonna level myself up to the end of this session, and then when it's just me and the other guy who's been hunting, I'm gonna probably be more powerful than him.
It's pretty much just like how like League of Legend or Defense of the Ancients kind of works. You know, like when you're in the
Yeah,
lanes, you're killing bots and you're leveling up. So once you're leveled up, you know you can equip better armor and equipment, and then you can be
yeah.
stronger, so you can directly fight actual players.
Mhm. You actually you buy from the vending machines like you do in Seven Remake.
Mm.
Mm. They didn't get to show summons. I know they were saying that was one thing they were trying to show off, and that they just never got a summon to actually work. But that was just because of how the games were going. It wasn't that there's an issue with the game. It was just those matches were going that specific way that nobody got to actually use a summon.
Mm. But they're
Because you have to
definitely.
like, yeah, you had to do some specific tasks or something like that, and they never got to do before they killed each other, the two professional players they had. So which is fine. Um, I know they were saying it's a shame we didn't get to show off our summons, but they were going to show off Ifrit, and I think the way the summons work is they're like an ally that does stuff. But they showed off. There's a clip of Meteor,
Ooh.
and Meteor is overkill. Uh, it was like the girl player. She was trying to shoot this other person, and the other person kept running in a circle. She got a few shots on him, but she was doing nothing, and then she just was like, "Screw it, meteor," because the ring was about to close. She was like, "Screw it, meteor," and then just rains of fireball killed him immediately. It was like,
Wow.
well, okay,
But
how
but
do I dodge this?
but I'm guessing that's not easy to summon, right? It's like it's like
Yeah,
a high level
it seemed like
magic.
she had to charge it up or something like that. I don't know.
Hmm. Let's talk about the map real quick. So
Yeah.
it's a pretty big map. I'll have the map up on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so
So yeah, do you want to talk about? So this is 30 years beforehand. Considering how this map is, you wouldn't think so.
yeah,
Yeah, because
so
there's some things in here. You've got Eret's church, and that of
yes,
course has the flowers growing in the church. But if this is 30 years before, that doesn't make sense, right?
yeah. So here's my question. So looking at the map right now, like all these places are all scattered all over the place. Like, how accurate is this from like the actual geography of the Final Fantasy VII game? Because it just seems
Mm,
like all these places were just sort of like just thrown together randomly. This isn't like the actual layout of these places. The thing
we
is,
can,
we don't really know for sure until we're actually playing the
yeah.
game and then exploring in game. But just from the way
Yeah.
this looks, it doesn't seem like it's the layout is accurate. So
Yeah, it seems like they've taken some creative liberties, which we do actually know a little bit. So we got a bit of info on that because there's a lot of stuff that shouldn't be here. So Corneo's mansion, again, it's 30 years beforehand. Why would Corneo's mansion be there?
yeah,
Uh, in the church, why would Eret's flowers be there? In the
yeah,
verdant house, why would there be a big garden? That Eret, is Eret's the one that grew that garden? Why is the big garden there?
yeah,
In the Sector 7 slums, Seventh Heaven is there,
yeah.
and you can run into Seventh Heaven Bar. That shouldn't be there, because in Crisis Core, you actually meet the dude that opened up that bar, and he's like, "Oh, I'm planning on opening up a bar. What should I name it?" And you give him the name Seventh Heaven.
Mm-hmm.
So that shouldn't be there. And a lot of people were going, "This doesn't make any sense. Why are all these places there? I thought Tifa opened up the bar. I thought this and that." And
Exactly. Like I understand why they're doing it.
uh,
They want to
yeah,
put like familiar places So you can
Yeah,
sort of connect with the location.
yeah. Have you heard the lore reason?
No, what was it?
So Nomura said it was something along the lines of, "Oh, you're maybe wondering why there's all of these why there's all of these locations that shouldn't be there, why they're all there." And we were thinking we wanted to represent them in this game, even though it's 30 years beforehand. So how do we do that? Well, in FF7 Remake, there's the VR system, right?
Hmm.
And the VR system shows you places that don't yet exist, people and enemies that don't exist. So in First Soldier, you're using a VR system, and that's showing you these places from the future.
Okay.
But to me, it's like that doesn't make any sense because with the Shinra stuff, of course that makes sense. But with Tifa's bar, Shinra didn't build that, so how would Shinra know that that's going to be there 30 years in the future? How would
Yeah.
they know about Aerith's garden? They don't know that there's going to be a flower girl.
Yeah.
Like what? Here's what I think, and I've been thinking about this idea, and I kind of want to run it by you for a bit, right? What if um the way First Soldier's story kind of is, or and they could reveal this later into the story, and is it's a soldier from the present playing VR missions of the past. Because, like, at the start of Crisis Core, right? That's Zack in a VR mission, and there's like a VR Sephiroth in there.
Yeah.
And this is the very start of Crisis Core. And he's just doing like this random mission where he like jumps on the train, fights a bunch of Wutai soldiers,
Yeah.
and then he fights a Bahamut and Sephiroth's there as well. Um, and that seems like maybe that was a mission from the past that
Mm.
Shinra records all the data and they make it into a mission, and it's like, okay, this is how you train to become a soldier like Sephiroth. You have to go through all of the missions like Sephiroth.
Yeah. No, I mean that makes a
But
lot of sense. That makes a lot of
yeah,
sense.
and if you're gonna have soldier, like if this is how you're gonna actually train your soldiers, well, you don't want them on an outdated map. You want them to still know what buildings, because you don't want to actually send in your Shinra soldiers and then being like, "Oh, it's cool. I'll just run through this empty part of the Sector 7 slot. Oh, there's a bar there."
Yeah.
Um, so you would add the bar in, and you'd be like, "Okay, well, since that mission happened, there's a bar there, so we'll put the bar there." Like they keep their map up to date, but you're just playing the missions of the past, and that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That to
That
me is what makes sense of if you're going to use the VR technology, it's you're using the VR to go to the past to train.
Yeah, I like that idea. That idea makes a lot
Yeah,
of sense. Like, but instead
yeah,
of like presenting it as like something from 30 years ago, why not just present it as, oh, it's like a modern training tool for like soldier, like in the modern timeline or in the,
yeah.
it's
Uh, it's because they want to. So the big thing about this is they're selling this as this is the lore of Sephiroth and the beginnings of Soldier and the lore of Sephiroth, and you so we said this in the last video, but just so people are aware, if you're right now you're like, I don't want to play a battle royale to learn about Sephiroth, you don't need to. They're going to also tell the story in Ever Crisis,
hmm,
but this is just another way of getting that lore. um so yeah, this is the story of Sephiroth. So the big thing of this was, when's this game going to be released, when can I play it on my mobile phone, and we don't know. But uh, Square Enix did announce that there'll be a closed beta test for Europe. It might just be the UK. I'm not sure if it's all of Europe, but Europe, America. I'll say Europe for now. We'll you find out. You go find out. You do the homework. We've done all the rest of it for you. Europe, America, and Japan. You can go to their website for First Soldier, and you can sign up for the closed beta test. It's only for Android at the minute. Um, there's specific requirements. The requirements seem a bit. So I tried getting it on BlueStacks because I'm an Apple boy. I'm a smelly apple shill. I don't know about you, Riven. I think you're an Android,
I'm
right?
an Android, yeah.
Yeah, and you couldn't get it. Your device couldn't support the
Yeah,
closed beta.
well, my device is kind of old, so it was giving me
Yeah,
a non-compatibility message.
yeah. There's other people I know that tried to get it. They were getting the same message. So I don't know anybody that can actually sign up for the closed beta.
Hmm.
Um, but I I guess we'll see what happens when somebody gets to sign up for it.
Yeah.
But
Well, we'll leave all the links down below so you guys can check it
yeah,
out yourself.
yeah. But that will be running from the 1st of June, I believe, to June 7th. Sign up now. Signing up doesn't guarantee that you will get to do the closed beta. The people not being able to do it might guarantee it. But if you can get into the closed beta, then yeah, let us know how it plays. Let us know what you think, and be sure to give Square Enix the feedback to improve it,
Hmm.
whatever you think they need.
So we have some new information regarding Final Fantasy VII Intergrade. And for anyone who's been living under a rock like the last couple of months, it's pretty much an introduction to Yuffie in the Final Fantasy VII Remake story,
Mm. We
which
have the intermission DLC. So I think the one thing that we didn't cover the last time that we should probably clarify right now,
mhm,
if you upgrade or if you have the PS4 version, yes, there is the free upgrade for the base game, but for the DLC you do have to pay extra.
yeah.
Um, so that's the one thing to keep in mind for the
Yes.
Intergrade. You get all the PS5, the graphics enhancements, but for the actual Yuffie stuff, that is something you'll have to pay for.
Yes, and if you purchase Intergrade separately, um,
Hmm.
with Final Fantasy VII for PlayStation 5, they were saying how it's like what, $70 or something.
Yeah, and if you got the PS Plus version, you don't get the free upgrade or anything. You have to buy the game,
Yeah.
which I can understand. But that's all stuff that's happened. Let's talk about what happened today. So we got the trailer, and
They were showing off footage from the PlayStation 5 version, and it looks
yeah,
gorgeous. It's smooth.
yeah, the effects on the whispers and stuff look so much better. It looks beautiful. It looks great. In our last video, we talked about how it had Weiss from Dirge of Cerberus
Mhm.
in the DLC, and we actually see in this that that's part of the VR mission.
So
Yeah,
you're
with
fighting.
Cloud, Aerith, and Tifa, I think is who was fighting him in this trailer.
Yeah. So he's not actually in the story, but he's you can just fight him as like an optional
Yeah,
VR fight.
yeah, it seems that way, which I think makes sense rather than having like the main antagonist of Dirge of Cerberus show up already.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but the main villain though is this guy Nero.
Yeah.
So he was the one like with the mask and stuff like that, right? He was wearing the mask and
I actually haven't played Dirge of Cerberus, so I'm interested. Because, for me, with 7 Remake, as someone who plays Crisis Core, they were giving all these references, and I was getting all those and enjoying them. But now, when they're doing all these Dirge of Cerberus references in this, they're going to go over my head, and I'm going to be like, oh, I don't know what any of this means, but I'm just going to enjoy it.
yeah. I mean, I've only played it once and it was a while back, so I'm not too familiar with it, but pretty much it's like it was like an underground faction of like these super
Mm,
soldiers called Deep Ground, and
yeah.
they were
And
they
they
were
mentioned
led.
those in the trailer.
Yeah, yeah, and they were led by, I
Mm,
think they were led by Weiss,
yeah.
and Nero was also like another member of it, but we're not exactly sure how they tie into to Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Mm,
But they did show off like some like a fight with him and Sonon and Yuffie.
yeah. But before that, they showed off. We got to see Yuffie's like given. I can't remember what she calls them, but they're like senzu beans from Dragon Ball. I mean, I don't know if that's what they
Yeah,
do, but they're like little beans, and she's like, "Oh, these are from Wutai," and she gives them to everyone. I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cute."
yeah. That's exactly what I thought of. They looked like senzu
Yeah,
beans.
yeah. And then some kid asks her, "Does she want to play Fort Condor?"
Yes. So here's for anyone who hasn't played Final Fantasy VII, Fort Condor was like I guess you can describe it as like a tower defense or something like that. It's like a sort of tower defense mini game.
Yeah, it was a strategy mini game that you would do in the original, but it still seems to be a strategy mini game here.
Yeah.
But where it's confusing, um,
Well, it's not like an actual location. In the original game, you had to go to the actual location, Fort Condor, and
yeah,
set up like the defenses and stuff like that. But here, it's almost like a tabletop game.
yeah, which is really confusing because even like it said to Yuffie, "Do you want to play Fort Condor?" And she's like, "Fort Condor, what's that?" And it's like, wait, but isn't this a place? It'd be like going, "Hey, you want to play New York? New York, what's that?" You
I
know,
mean,
it's weird to me.
it's possible that maybe they got rid of the Fort Condor location and just sort of retconned it into like a game.
A mini game.
Yeah, so you know
Hmm.
how like Final Fantasy games have like their own little like mini game, like a card game in Final Fantasy 8 and Final Fantasy 9,
Yeah.
and 10 had Blitzball and 10-2 had like Sphere Break and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
maybe this is like the remakes version of like a game that you can challenge like NPCs and stuff like that.
Yeah. I kind of hope not. I hope it is still an actual location.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's gonna be so interesting to find out because it was such a weird part of the like if you've played seven, it's a weird part of the trailer. If you haven't played seven, it's like, oh, cool mini game.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
yeah, it'll
from the looks of things,
be
it looks like it plays the same way almost. It's
yeah,
like you set up your defenses, and there's like different units that they have their own strengths and weaknesses and stuff like that, and I think they also included like status effects too, because like I noticed like they're on the left side of the screen you had like poison and stuff like
and an
that.
ATB as well.
Yeah, so it's like a an upgraded version of the original
Yeah,
Fort Condor thing.
we saw Scarlet.
Yeah, Scarlet. They gave her more of a prominent role
Yeah,
in Intergrade.
she had a bit of a yeah, and they gave Sonon like a backstory of I think she killed his sister.
Yeah,
Malfi, I think is her name.
yeah. So from the
Yeah.
looks of it, it seems like during like the Midgar Wutai War, um, him and his sister fought in it, and
Mm,
she died from something from like a weapon that Scarlet created.
Scarlet. Yeah.
And
And you get
she's the
you get a
lead.
big boss fight with her.
Yeah. She had like the red armor or something like that.
Yeah, it was really cool looking, like a big mech suit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they showed off a new summon. They showed off Ramu
Mhm. Or
or
Rama is what I always call it, but you
Rama.
call it Ramu, so I guess we'll have to see what it's pronounced as.
Yeah, what did they call in 15? Because he was in
I,
15. Remember?
he was, yeah. I thought he was Rama. I don't know. I always thought he was Rama.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um,
And then the trailer. So we saw the Nero fight. We already talked about that. But episode Yuffie, or I think it's called Intermission Yuffie, is what they're calling it. That is going to be 2 chapters long. And a chapter in the original game. A chapter was about 3, 4 hours, right?
yeah, about.
So this could be 6 to 8 hours. Is this whole Yuffie story, which I think it's I think it's $10 or $20 to upgrade. How do you feel for $20 for 8 hours more of game?
I mean, to be honest with you, I think $20 might be a little too much.
Mm,
Because if you bought standard Final Fantasy VII Remake for 60, it would make
mm-hmm.
sense to make Intergrade $10 because if you wanted to buy like the PlayStation 5 version of Remake with Intergrade, it's 70 for the entire thing. So
Yeah,
it would make sense for them to charge just $10. I feel like 20 is just a little too much.
yeah. I'm not quite sure on the price myself, but
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of agree. But at the same time, I'm kind of like 8 hour, like an 8 hour DLC is pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't think it's $20 good. You know? I mean, because it doesn't add anything to the base game, right? It doesn't add like new spells or anything like that. It's just like like a new
It
chapter or
adds
something like that.
it adds the Weiss boss fight.
Oh, that's it? That's it.
I
Well,
don't know what else it adds. I don't know if the photo mode and stuff will is part of Yuffie. Like I don't know if you have to purchase
oh,
Yuffie to access the photo mode
wait,
and
you're
stuff.
right, you're right because they're coming up with like the new classic modes, right? Like the new
Yeah,
modes, the new photo modes. But you're right. I
yeah,
don't know whether that's like it comes with the PlayStation 5 upgrade or it comes with Intergrade.
yeah. So I guess we'll have to wait and figure that one out. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean I'm gonna show for Square Enix. Square
Mm-hmm.
Enix, if you wanna sponsor us and give us money, please.
Yes.
The way I think it's gonna go, and I'm curious about what you think.
Mm.
I think her first chapter, her first episode will be. Uh, I think the first one will end with the plate dropping, Sector 7 plate,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a real interesting tweet comparison I saw where they put it side by side with spoilers for Crisis Core and Final Fantasy 7. But they put uh, Yuffie screaming next to when Cloud screams in Crisis Core at the end of that.
Mm.
And the animation is very similar. So I'm wondering if perhaps maybe Sonon dies here, and then part two is like Yuffie moving past that. And they said, well, and I think maybe part two or chapter two is Yuffie kind of moving past that.
Wait, you mean Remake Chapter 2 or Intergrade Chapter 2?
The Yuffie DLC chapter two, because it's two chapters that you play as
Oh,
in there.
so you don't think Sonon will be in the story for both chapters?
I don't think so. Um, the way I watched it is, me and Riven both follow Itaki Mochi on Twitter. Audrey,
Mm-hmm.
let's give her a big shout out. She
Yeah,
she
and
actually she unknowingly helps this channel so much because we get so much of our information from
so,
her as a source.
yeah, she's
Uh,
amazing. I'll add her. I'll link her Twitter down below. She's like, if you're a big fan of Final Fantasy 7 Remake and My Hero Academia,
Kingdom Hearts,
yeah,
yeah,
she translates like Japanese stuff into English, and
yeah,
she's
and
like
she has
a
a website where they sell all that kind of stuff as well.
yeah, she's like a fountain of knowledge. So I'll
Yeah,
link her Twitter down below.
yeah. But she was saying, I love this, and I'm curious what you think of this.
Mm,
The voice actor for Sonon in Japanese, she described him as he is basically the Japanese voice actor equivalent of Sean Bean.
mm,
Every character he plays usually dies or has something awful happen to them.
mm. That sort of lends, like credibility to your idea that maybe Sonon does maybe die sometime in Intergrade.
Yeah.
But
So
here,
I think it would make sense if he died at the first half, and then the second half is Yuffie kind of moving past that to because if he died at the end of it, and then we'll say in part two you meet depressed Yuffie, I don't think it would make much sense. Whereas I feel like if Yuffie kind of moved past it to become uh, or even like started masking how upset she is by it. I think we need to see that before she meets Cloud and Co.
Right, right. I like the idea of Sonon dying, but not so early. I
Mm,
feel like if he is gonna die, maybe at least wait until like the end of Intergrade, right? So, I mean, if each chapter is only like 3 or 4 hours long, you only have like 3 or 4 hours to enjoy the character, you
true.
know. So it's like it sort of like makes you not care about him as much even when he dies. So I feel
Mm,
like they would need to spend both chapters to sort of get you to sort of relate to him a little bit and then kill him off.
mm. The only thing that would throw that off for me, because when Yuffie screams, it seems to be after the Sector 7 plate drops, which would mean that the Yuffie DLC would end that early on into 7 Remake.
Which sort of like
Yeah.
leaves like the question like where was Yuffie for the rest of the game, you know?
Yeah. So that's why I feel like if they're going to kill him there, that's why I feel like part 2 would be Yuffie following Yuffie up until the end of 7 Remake.
Hmm. That makes sense.
Mm. Yeah.
That's an
One thing
interest.
Audrey did point out um, is you can see when Yuffie screams, there's like a close up on her eyes, and it looks like
Hmm.
Vincent could be there.
Well,
What
it's
did you think
not
of this
it's not
theory?
okay, so yeah, so it's not really clear if it's Vincent or
Yeah.
not because it was like it looked like a the reflection looked like it was like a hooded person or something like that. And
Hmm.
I mean, you can argue that it kind of looks like Vincent, but it could have been Nero too. You know,
Yeah.
it could have been anybody.
To me, it looked a lot like Vincent's, because I keep looking at it and I'm like, yeah, I kind of see Vincent, but I also kind of don't see
Yeah,
Vincent.
that's how I
And
feel.
I'm looking at it right now, and I'm like, whenever I see Vincent, I'm picturing his character art from the original Final Fantasy VII, and I'm like, I can layer that over in my head, and that makes sense. But when I try and see like a character model, I don't see a character model. Does that kind of make sense? I see like
Yeah,
the 2D art, but I don't see like a 3D person.
right, right. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah,
But the thing
yeah,
is, it would be kind of insane that they're introducing him so early in the game. You know what I
mm,
mean? But then again, they're doing the same thing with Yuffie. They're introducing her,
yeah.
pretty early.
And it doesn't even have to be actually Vincent because we already have the lore with the whispers and stuff like that. So maybe it's
Yeah.
the whispers are showing her Vincent, and we know the whispers were there when the plate dropped. So that's the only thing that makes me think, oh, maybe it's the the whisper showing her Vincent, because isn't Vincent Yuffie's love interest?
No, no. Like the connection between Yuffie and Vincent was because they were optional characters in the original game, so they were sort of like lumped in together, if you know what I mean. Like in Dirge of Cerberus, like she shows up, like
Mm.
sort of as like I wouldn't say sidekick, but she shows up there. She's like a significant part of the
I
story.
heard though that in Dirge of Cerberus they kind of developed them as like a love interest. No,
Really?
I could be wrong. I could be wrong on that.
I don't
Or
know,
like
but
Yuffie has a crush on Vincent.
maybe. But I don't see Vincent, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Vincent's like what? He's like what 60 something or something, right? He's like over 60 years old. And
Yeah.
and how old is Yuffie? Yuffie's like what 16 or something?
Yuffie is 16. Yeah.
Yeah,
It makes sense for her to have a crush on Vincent as like this. Oh, he's like a brooding, cool vampire, older man. Vincent and her does maybe they're not reciprocated, but for her to fancy him, I could see it.
no, I could see that too. But like a straight like love interest thing,
Mm,
it's a little questionable.
yeah, but Dirge is their kind of game together, so maybe that's also why she would see Vincent, because they are kind of lumped together in that sort of way.
Yeah, but that's just a theory.
A game
Game
theory.
theory.
Oh, the other thing we see in this trailer, blood. We've got blood, red blood.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
didn't have blood in part one, so they've added blood to Intergrade, which is cool.
Which wait. So that means we're gonna be able to see blood in base remake. Is that what you're saying?
I'm guessing so, right?
It's interesting because I mean it's definitely gonna affect the rating of the game now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It sounds kind of weird to me because I know they wanted to keep the rating like teen,
Mm.
you know. So
Maybe it's a case of maybe Square Enix has done like a really clever thing here, and so
maybe there's
it's
like a
Final Fantasy VII Remake.
loophole.
Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's already been rated. So the only thing you need to rate is the Yuffie DLC. So if you don't add as many swears into it and you add the bit of blood, you can still keep your teen rating. But we're not. But to them, it's like, oh, well, we're only reviewing this Yuffie DLC. We're only reviewing the new stuff. We already reviewed that a year ago. Nothing's changed in there. And Square Enix like, yeah, it's the same game basically. You just review the new stuff. Oh, you're giving that a T because of the mild swears in the blood. Okay, okay, cool. Yeah, we'll put this together. Yeah, it's a T. Don't worry, it's a T. We're not gonna add blood into the original. Quick, don't show them the guys. Don't show them the original. Hide the blood. Hide the blood.
So
Yeah, no blood. What blood? Blood? You? No. Yeah, there's
so
blood in this one.
so what you're saying is they found like some sort of loophole or something to keep the teen rating, but at the same time sneak in a little bit of.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
That's
Honestly,
an
I wouldn't be
interesting.
surprised.
That's an interesting idea though. Like I'd like to
Yeah,
look into how
because
how
what
DLCs and
they
updates like affect like the base game and the rating and stuff.
yeah, because would they have to rewrite the game they rated a year ago? I don't think so.
I mean, it's rated now. It's like in the books already, so I don't know if they can change it.
Yeah.
That's interesting though. That's a good.
So yeah, it's got the teen rating, and the other thing we learned is Intergrade has a 6 month exclusivity with PlayStation. That's shown at the end of the PlayStation version of the trailer.
Mhm.
So we know that the original FF7 remake had a year's exclusivity. This is added on 6 months for Intergrade. I feel like they're not going to release the base game on other platforms. They'll just wait and release Intergrade on other platforms if they're going to do that. But they have clarified 6 months exclusivity. So yeah, we'll see. So they said where Intergrade ends is where part two picks up, and we actually got some. That's the start of this part two news that we've gotten, which
Mhm.
is I wouldn't say it's massive news, but to me it's big enough that we're already getting this little droplets of part two. That there's going to be no time jump or anything like that. When one ends, when Intergrade ends, uh, part two immediately begins.
Yeah,
Apparently,
and Nomura said this
and
himself, right?
yeah, so Nomura, he appears on these live streams as like a godly voice because he doesn't like to appear on camera, which is kind of funny. But yeah, he gave some not massive part two news. I mean, to me, it's kind of insane that we're getting part two news already.
Yeah.
And
Well,
even though it's not massive, it's still like little droplets.
there was an interview with Kitase. He was saying how the development has been going according to schedule. So
Yeah, and we have an update on that here. That development is going. It's the same. Development is going smoothly. Nomura said he was like oh, I wanted to reveal some information here today, and I asked Kataze, but me and Kataze we were talking about it, and he basically said that they would have to go through all the different departments of Square Enix to get what they say approved, and there was just so much effort in that, and he was like, I literally just wanted to say that development's going well and all this stuff, but we didn't go through to get that approved, so I'm not going to say what I was going to say, but you'll get part two news soon, and there are plans for when that will actually drop. They've figured that all that out. So I'm wondering, is E3 too close for part two?
When is E3?
It's in June. It's either just before Intergrade or just after, but it's very close to Intergrade's release.
I mean, it's very likely.
Mm,
Very likely. I mean, are they presenting at E3 or
they
they
are,
are?
yeah.
Okay. So,
And they said they're going to be announcing a lot of new games, so
I
that would make
mean,
one think maybe part two.
they'll definitely release more information on First Soldier and Ever Crisis. That's because
Yeah.
they didn't mention anything about Ever Crisis in today's live
No.
stream. So they, most likely they'll drop info on that.
Mm,
I feel like they're gonna want to focus on like what's coming out soon, which would be
yeah.
like the seven spin-offs. So
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't
But
be
part two is
complaining.
probably further. Part two is probably further along out, so it's hard to know if we'll get like a teaser trailer or something. They might wait for TGS.
Yeah. Some of the games that they're going to announce might not even be like Final Fantasy related. So
Yeah.
you know,
But yeah, so he was talking about the different levels of information dropping that they had to do, and just he didn't bother going through that. But he was saying one thing he did say was the atmosphere in part two is going to be so much more different because it's Cloud and Co. walking around nature, whereas part one was the industrial city.
yeah, yeah. Because like in the original game, once you leave Midgar, it's like open world sort of, so you get to walk
Yeah,
around and. But here's the question: will we be getting like an open world, like an open like an overworld map?
yeah, they haven't said. Um, I'm wondering if maybe it'll be partially open,
Hmm.
but surely maybe it'll be like as open as Seven was at that point. You know, like, oh, you can leave Midgar and you can go to these parts of the map, but you can't go any further until like part three or whatever comes out.
Right, right. Because like in Final Fantasy X, right? Like you went from like one area to the next, just like seamlessly. There's like no overworld map. So I'm
I feel
wondering.
like I feel like surely they'll have to incorporate you traveling, because the way he even says it of like, oh, it's like them through nature and stuff like that. I feel like if it was like the FF10 version, you wouldn't be going through nature, right? You would just be going to the next town,
Yeah,
and then you'd be going to the Chocobo Ranch, and then you'd be going to the cave. Whereas like if you're gonna actually have an open world, you'd have to be going through the world map,
hmm.
which would be going through nature and stuff like that.
Yeah. So maybe they are implying there will be an open world. So
Yeah, yeah. Like I was saying earlier, Nomura said when the time comes, we'll be announcing info on part two. So I'm excited to see it, to be honest.
yeah, yeah. What are you looking forward to the most out of everything we talked about?
Um, I think I'm gonna take the weird route because Intergrade is gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun seeing Yuffie and stuff like that. I think everyone's excited for Intergrade. Uh, and everyone's excited for part two. But I'm curious as to actually get my hands on First Soldier, especially
Hmm.
after seeing people play it. And I don't play battle royales or anything like that. But I
Yeah.
think I feel like First Soldier might be fun, and I don't know. I kind of can't wait to play that.
Yeah. I was
And
actually
that's
gonna.
that's what I mean. We're getting Intergrade first, but once Intergrade's done, we've got nothing else to kind of hold us over apart from First Soldier and Ever Crisis. And Ever Crisis isn't until next year, so I'm waiting on First Soldier. Give me that release date.
Yeah. Well, I was about to say the same thing, and I think we mentioned it in our first video where we covered First Soldier for the first time. It's like it's sort of like a streamer's game that you can just like kind of keep playing
Yeah,
and
like how this COD Mobile and stuff like that.
yeah. So there's gonna be like a bunch of First Soldier streamers that are
Yeah.
just gonna be streaming First Soldier content and Here's the funny thing
Um,
with Intergrade. Intergrade is only available for PlayStation 5. Um,
mm,
so no PlayStation 4. PlayStation 5s are still difficult to get your hands on, you know.
mm. I
And
was it
most,
because of technical limitations of the PlayStation 4 that they couldn't.
I think that's what it is. I think that's what it is
Yeah.
because the graphics, like, it's
Mm,
it looks like they're using like PlayStation 5 hardware that
yeah.
and what is it? It's like 60 frames or something like that. Yeah,
Yes. It gives you different options of like, do you want to prioritize graphics or frame rate?
yeah.
So, which will you be prioritizing? I'm curious.
I mean, probably graphics because the game looks
Yeah, I'm the
really
same.
good.
I know Talos is. I know Talos was talking about the frame rate. He was like, "Oh, I just want a stable frame rate or whatever." That's my Talos impression. He was like, "Oh, prioritize the frame rate." That when we talked about it, but I don't
But
care about the frame rate. I want it to look pretty. Yeah, as long as it's not jumping around 2 frames a second, I'm
yeah,
fine.
like it doesn't
If it's
like
30 frames, I don't care.
because the
It's
original Final Fantasy 7 remake, they had like so much graphical issues. Like the
mm.
textures look weird and like one thing.
Do you remember the background when you were climbing the plate?
Yeah, yeah, it was
How low
like
res that was? It's fine now. They showed a picture of it and it was like, "Whoa, okay. This is what it's meant to look like.
yeah,
Cool."
it's pretty bad. Yeah, like I remember being in Eric's house and like the flowers, like the textures, they were like
Yeah.
non-existent. So hopefully they fix that and like the whole area looks so much more better.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely looking forward to better graphics. Not a lot of people have PlayStation 5s right now. It's still hard to get your hands on. Not a lot of people are willing to get PlayStation 5s because at this point there's really no incentive to get it
Mm,
unless you want like PlayStation 5 exclusive games like Demon Souls or
mm.
something, you know?
Well, it's funny that you mention that because they did announce that the PlayStation 5 is the fastest selling Sony system. It sold the most units in its first fiscal year or something like that,
Hmm.
which it released in November and the fiscal year for Sony ended last month.
Yeah,
So in those couple of months, it sold more than the PS4 did. The PS4's first year, PS4 sold 7.4 million, I think,
yeah.
and the PS5 has sold 7.8 million units, which is insane. I didn't know there was 7.8 million units. Where are
Yeah, well,
they? They all keep selling out.
this is a bit of a complicated issue though, but we'll probably talk
Yeah,
about it in the
in
video.
that Sony video, if we do a
Yeah.
Sony video, keep an eye out for it.
Yeah. But so yeah, like I don't know if anyone's willing to pay $500 or $1,000 to get a PlayStation 5 just to play Intergrade. So I don't know.
Just me? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me
I
look.
mean, I think for the time being, I might just like watch like a playthrough or like a Twitch stream or something like that. But
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
I think I'm gonna try and get my hands on one. Um, let's see, we'll see.
yeah.
Talos has one, so Talos is fine. But
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna try not just for Intergrade. At the exact same time, Ratchet and Clank comes out, and that game looks so much fun. The PS4 Ratchet and Clank game was amazing. So I'm kind of like, you know, a game I actually want, like a full game, not just a DLC, but a full game is coming out at the same time that I actually want, and this is coming out, so I might just get it and try out the two of them. But yeah.
Yeah. I guess that's it. The game comes out June 10th, so keep an eye out
Hmm.
for that. Uh,
And keep in mind the closed beta of First Soldier is June 1st to June 7th or June 8th or something like that. So you get a week to play it. So sign up for the closed beta test and make sure you get your week of play. If you like this video, hit the like button, give us a subscribe. Go on, give that subscribe. Share it with your friends. Have you got a friend that likes Final Fantasy? I have friends that like Final Fantasy. Have you got friends that like Twitter? Yeah, me neither. I don't really like Twitter either. Yeah. But if you're friends that like Final Fantasy, share it with them. Send it. Go on. Then send it to them. Come on.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
And that's the end of the video. Subscribe. Studley Boys. Cool. Studley's out. Whoa.
Peace.